celestial visitors descending from the deepest reaches of the heavens, the first conscious powers to set foot upon the earth. According to some, the architects of human genetics, and according to others, the divine authorities who shaped our belief systems. So, who were these Anunnaki? Where do their origins lie? How did they evolve? And what mysterious attributes turned them into history's greatest enigma? In this special file of Find the Truth, we pull back the curtain on the most debated mystery of the digital world. This journey will take us to the furthest edges of ancient societies and the mythological foundations of sacred texts. Ultimately, we will discover the answers to the questions in our minds together. Welcome to Find the Truth. Key year is 1968. Researcher Erich von Däniken, after years of field studies and travels, publishes his famous work that would create global shockwaves and spark a brand new movement in popular culture, Chariots of the Gods. In this book, Däniken detailed how societies vastly separated by distance possessed such remarkably similar symbols, parallel mythologies, and even more interestingly, architectural and technological advancements far beyond their time. In the light of these claims, a definition was born that would not be forgotten for decades: the ancient astronaut theory. According to this theory, our world was visited by intelligent extraterrestrial beings in ancient times, and humanity climbed the steps of civilization by constructing massive structures that seemed impossible for that era. Thanks to this guidance. To prove this thesis, Däniken points to examples like the Nazca lines in Peru, which only gain meaning when viewed from the sky, the Egyptian pyramids, which are difficult to explain with the mathematical and geographical knowledge of that period, and the strikingly similar stonework found across the globe. And he asks this critical question: what if the official history we were taught is a total illusion? Driven by this vision, Zecharia Sitchin shared his 7-volume Earth Chronicles series with the public in 1976, starting with the story of the 12th planet. This work introduced a much more specific term into our literature, the Anunnaki. However, today, many conspiracy theorists you encounter on internet videos or television programs present the assumptions in Zecharia Sitchin's books as if they were absolute truths proven in a laboratory. It has reached such a strange point that whenever the topic of the Anunnaki arises, everyone speaks as if they lived through that era themselves, saying things like, they came from Nibiru via this route, Alalu left that face silhouette on Mars, the Anunnaki did this on that date, telling these details as if they were their own family history. Yet, examining the Anunnaki with scientific curiosity is one thing. Talking about them as if they were our next-door neighbors is quite another. In this video, I will not quote directly from Sitchin's works, because there is a serious methodological problem in these books. Although Sitchin worked hard, he often filled the gaps between findings with his own personal interpretations and fictions, and no doubt, as a writer, he may have wanted to create a compelling story. But because fiction and reality became blurred, the information pollution of today has led these narratives to be perceived as absolute truth. I, however, will cross-examine ancient inscriptions, epics, and ancient beliefs in this video to address the issue with more tangible facts. Around 4500 BC, according to mainstream history, the Sumerian civilization suddenly appears in all its glory. This society is the starting point for writing, astronomy, and advanced mathematics. Everything from the first hospital systems to librarianship came to life with the Sumerians. Here, the question is inevitable. How did these people emerge on the stage of history so well equipped? Why did their development process progress so rapidly, as if starting from the middle of a book? At this point, historians began to debate this possibility. Could it be that humanity had made some discoveries long before the Sumerians, and the Sumerians were merely a continuation of that heritage? This curiosity leads us to ancient texts like Atrahasis, Enuma-Elish, and Gilgamesh. In these inscriptions, a superior ruling class appears, the Anunnaki. Etymologically, it means the royal blood that came from the heavens. There is no concrete historical document in our possession that states exactly when these beings descended to Earth. Therefore, Sitchin's claim that they came 400,000 years ago for gold is actually an unproven assumption. However, in the Enuma-Elish epic, although the timing is uncertain, there are fascinating details. epic speaks of great wars fought among the gods even before the earth was formed. It is told that after these conflicts, the world was designed and the Anunnaki were tasked with maintaining this order. While their origins remain a mystery, their most significant impact on Earth was the beginning of our history, the creation of Anunnaki in the late 19th century. Archaeologists like Henry Layard and Hormizd Rassam were tracing the remains of ancient Sumerian cities. Meters underground, massive areas containing the cities of Nippur and Ur were discovered. Scores of statues and thousands of tablets that would shatter our perception of history came to light. It took years for experts to decipher these tablets. But when the Enki and Ninmah texts were decoded, the information revealed astonished everyone. The story of humanity's existence was awakening from a sleep of thousands of years. When you listen to representatives of modern Abrahamic religions, it is said that man is the most superior and sacred of all beings. Yet, in Abrahamic faiths outside of Judaism, there is very little data regarding the supersanctity of humans. In the Quran, it is stated that man is a caliph and an honorable being, but that is all. Despite this, it is emphasized countless times that man's primary duty is obedience and servitude. Thus, approaches like man is the center of the universe are mostly products of the human ego. Just watching the world news is enough to see how debatable this claim is. Indeed, in the Enki and Ninmah tablets, which are thousands of years older than the sacred books, the situation is described much more pragmatically. When combined with the Atrahasis epic, this picture emerges. When the Anunnaki first descended to Earth, there was a working class called the Ijajai, who carried out their tasks at one level below them. The Ijajai performed heavy infrastructure tasks such as temple construction and agriculture. Although ancient texts describe the Anunnaki as gods, it is clearly stated that they were beings who required shelter and food. Never forget this. The group here consisted of flesh and blood beings. So why were they called gods? I will provide the answer shortly. Eventually, this heavy workload becomes too much for the Ijajai, and they rebel against the Anunnaki. Thus, the first strike in history begins. To solve the problem, Enki, the god of wisdom, and the mother goddess Ninmah initiated the project. Throughout the experiments, they tried to design a living being that could serve them. The first attempts ended in failure, but finally, through a mixture of clay, the symbol of earthly raw material, and the genetic heritage of the gods, the first perfect human, Adama, is created. Later, this process will be repeated, and with the multiplication of humans, the need for labor will be met. In Sumerian inscriptions, the name of the first man is known, but the woman's is not clear. Enki loves his creation Adama very much and teaches him agriculture, science, and laws. This is a key point, because we remember this narrative from Sumerians. The parallel between this and the story of the teaching of names to Adam in the Quran is striking. The essence of the story is that humans begin to serve the gods in their domain. Ziggurats are built. This concept will later transform into shrines known as the House of God. The food and drink offered to the gods were intended to ensure their physical satiety. This forms the basis of the future tradition of sacrifice. The mining work previously done by the Ijajai was now given to humans. The subject of mining is critical because the Anunnaki's obsession with gold is clearly visible in the inscriptions. Although Sitchin explains this with atmospheric repair, it is only a theory. But what is real is that gold has been accepted as a divine metal and a symbol of power in all civilizations for thousands of years. The gilding of Egyptian pharaohs is a reflection of this ancient tradition. In ancient Egyptian belief, gold was consecrated directly as the metal of the gods. Considering the indispensable place of gold in high technology today, this ancient passion does not seem like a coincidence. From Greek myths to Hindu legends, all divine realms are depicted with gold. Remember, the Anunnaki we are talking about are not abstract spirits. They are beings with human emotions, bodies, and needs. Although the Sumerians worshipped them, the texts clearly describe that they fell in love, felt hatred, and lived in physical form. They were simply much more advanced and larger compared to humans. Now you might ask, why did they worship flesh and blood beings as gods? The answer is simple. Humans always attribute sanctity to superior technology they cannot explain. Like the cargo cult example in World War II. Papua New Guinea natives, upon seeing airplanes, began to worship them and build bamboo airplane statues. The natives believed the planes were divine vehicles bringing them food. The birth of a belief is sometimes this dramatic. Think of the first created human, unaware of the world. What else could they do when faced with a massive and technological power from space? The epics tell us that over time, humans multiplied and began to defy the gods. This situation can be interpreted as the development of humanity becoming a risk for the divine authorities. Upon this, Enlil orders that humanity not be warned about the approaching flood. The goal is to destroy all of humanity and create a more obedient generation. The interesting point here is that the Anunnaki were able to detect natural disasters, the flood, in advance. However, Enki is attached to humanity and informs Sayusadra, Noah, of the disaster through a dream, telling him to build a ship. Sayusadra is saved this way, and the second era of humanity begins after the flood and the tablets found in Nineveh in 1872. The same story appears with changed names, Utnapishtim. Enki's warning, the construction of the ship, and the details of the rescue are almost identical. When the gods finally see the survivors, they are angry at first, but then they accept the situation and eat together. This event is the beginning of a new chapter in world history. However, after a while, a rupture occurs when the gods leave the earth. While the chronology is still debated, did the flood come first or events like the Tower of Babel? The fact that thousands of tablets have still not been found keeps the truth mysterious. Moreover, the destruction of many archaeological sites during the invasion of Iraq and ISIS attacks, and the smuggling of tablets to America, strengthens the suspicion that truths are being intentionally hidden. So, what is the meaning of this similarity between the narratives in holy books and these ancient myths? Could these beings be the origin of religions? The crucial second part of the video begins now. The traces of the Anunnaki appear with the same themes all over the world. The triple structure in Sumer, Anu, Enlil, Enki, and the 12-member council system are repeated exactly in Egypt, Amon, Osiris, Set, in Greece, Cronus, Zeus, Poseidon, and the 12 Olympian gods. This structure is also seen as the 12 apostles in Christianity, the Trinity in Hinduism, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and similarly in the Maya civilization. Not only the god structures, but also disaster narratives like the flood are common to all cultures. The corruption of humanity, the wrath of the gods, and rescue by a ship. No matter which continent you go to, the story is the same. Even the belief that the God who came from the sky will return one day has turned into the expectation of the Messiah or Mahdi in Abrahamic religions. Just like the tribes worshipping planes, as humans embellish something, they forget the original truth. While according to the Quran, expecting salvation from a being other than Allah damages tawhid, monotheism. The Mahdi figure in traditional beliefs is actually a continuation of these ancient expectations. It cannot be a coincidence that civilizations thousands of miles apart made the same depictions without seeing each other. Now let's look at the flood details in sacred texts. The Book of Enoch tells of the mixture of fallen angels with humanity and the Creator's anger at this. In the Torah, it is told that the Elohim, meaning gods, liked the daughters of men, married them, and giants, Nephilim, were born. Yahweh, the Lord, regrets this situation and sends a flood, Noah's descent from the ship and his sacrifice, and God's promise that I will never destroy all living things again, is the merged version of the dialogues between Enlil and Enki in Sumerian texts into a single god figure. In the Quran, the story is told more simply as the building of a ship under Allah's supervision and the destruction of the deniers. The motif is the same: wrath, warning, and salvation. Regarding creation, while in Sumer there is the separation of universal waters and a 6-stage creation process, this is found in the Torah and Quran as creation in 6 days. When we compare the 6 stages of the Sumerians, from chaos to order, separation of heaven and earth, formation of life, etc., with the 6-day calendar in the holy books, it is obvious where the origin lies. The theme of man being created from clay/earth and having a soul breathed into him is a symbolic narrative of the Anunnaki's genetic intervention. overlaps with the human forms of these ancient beings. At this very point, ancient astronaut theorists emphasize the following. If these gods were flesh and blood, their departure was not just a farewell, but a wake. The thousand-ton stones found in those massive rocks that even modern minds cannot live, could be just a remnant of the best technology that had and the perfect geometry of the Great Pyramid of Giza and its alignment with the stars we explained by the copper tools in the hands of the slaves of that day. Of course not. The tablets tell us that these structures were energy and communication hubs for celestial beings on Earth. And the truly striking point is this: why did they then not want gold? If Sitchin is right that gold was needed for the atmosphere, is there an ancient genetic code beneath the protection of gold reserves today? Perhaps this is why kings and gods were crowned only with gold for thousands of years. Now let's look at what modern science calls junk DNA. It is said that more than 90% of our DNA is non-functional. But what if these areas are lots of data left by the Anunnaki? Could they be control mechanisms that will activate when the time comes, triggered by a specific event? Some ancient inscriptions report that the gods said, "We left a piece of ourselves inside humans before returning to the sky." This piece might be the soul, or perhaps a genetic heritage waiting to wake up. At the core of Gilgamesh's quest for immortality lay the arrogance given by this divine blood. To summarize, are we just randomly evolved primates, or a hybrid species designed for a specific purpose? The Sumerians' knowledge of the sky, the fact that they even knew about Pluto, which was impossible for that time, proves that they received information from